The vast chamber of the Valari Imperium shimmered like a diamond under twin suns. Thousands of alien nobles, warriors, and scholars filled the massive hall, each seated in floating platforms that formed a ring around the center arena, high above. Them banners of star systems fluttered silently in the artificial wind. This was not a place for common beings. It was the throne ring, where the galaxy's most powerful gathered. In the middle of it all stood Princess Calvani of the Shard Worlds. Tall and fierce, she wore armor that glowed softly with embedded crystals, each one representing a victory in war. Her skin, a smooth sheen of violet and silver, reflected light like polished glass. Her eyes bright gold with slitted pupils. Watched with calm focus, she was not nervous. Calvani had trained her whole life for this moment. Today was the choosing of the bonded, a royal tradition where the heir to the throne would select a consort, someone to stand beside her in war and rule. The chosen would not just be a partner, but a symbol of alliance, strength, and future power. Nobles whispered. Warriors sat upright, their hearts racing. Royal families from dozens of species had sent their champions to be chosen. Some were genetically enhanced, others had psychic abilities. All had trained for years to earn a chance at this moment, and yet none expected what was about to happen. In a dark corner of the platform, far away from the center, a man stood awkwardly between two tall guards. He wore a simple gray jumpsuit. No armor, no enhancements. Just a name badge that read, Ethan Cole, Systems Engineer Earth. Ethan didn't belong here. Not at all. He was brought by mistake, a diplomatic error. Earth had only recently been accepted into the Galactic Alliance, and their ambassador, who was supposed to observe, had accidentally submitted Ethan's name to the consort selection list. It was a simple misclick on a touchscreen, a clerical. Disaster Ethan had been pulled from a peaceful life-fixing ship engines in orbit around Jupiter. One moment he was sipping coffee, the next he was standing in front of an alien princess, surrounded by 1,000 glowing eyes. And now he just wanted to go home. This is insane, he muttered under his breath. I'm not a warrior. Not ... bonded material. The guards beside him didn't respond. They were tall, emotionless, and very sharp-looking. A booming voice filled the arena. Present the candidates. Called the Herald of the Crown. A floating alien with 6 eyes and a deep voice. One by one, the chosen candidates stepped into the arena. A tall insectoid from the Krill Hives, a smooth-skinned empath from Zenthari, a twin-minded telepath from the floating cities of Ares. Each bowed deeply to Calvani and spoke their vows of service and strength. Ethan, last in line, stood stiff as the herald called his name. Ethan Cole of Terra, ... Systems Engineer. Laughter broke out in several parts of the arena. Some nobles smirked, others shook their heads. A few were openly offended. A human? One alien whispered to another. They still use combustion engines. He looks weak, another said. Soft. Why is he here? Calvani's eyes narrowed as she watched Ethan shuffle forward. He didn't bow. He didn't recite any vows. He simply looked up at her with tired eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan said. There's been a mistake. The entire hall fell into silence. Even the floating banners stopped moving. Calvani tilted her head. You do not wish to be chosen? Ethan blinked. No offense, your royal shardness, or whatever the title is. You seem like a perfectly terrifying warrior queen. Die. But I just want to go home. This place is a bit much for me. A gasp rippled through the arena. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Calvani stepped forward. Her armored boots echoed softly against the crystal floor. She walked slowly, studying him, not with anger, but with deep, sharp curiosity. You are not afraid of me, she said. Oh, I'm absolutely terrified, Ethan replied. But I've been terrified since I got pulled into this mess. Fear kind of loses its edge after 3 straight days of alien space bureaucracy. There was a pause. Then Calvani smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator. Discovering something unexpected, not prey, but challenge. She turned toward the council, her voice sharp and clear. I choose him. A thunderclap of reaction shook the chamber. What? Unacceptable? Is human, untrained. He's not even enhanced. The herald looked shocked. Princess, surely, she raised a hand, silencing everyone. I am the future empress of the Shard Worlds, she said. By tradition and right, I may choose whom I will. I choose Ethan Cole. She pointed a clawed hand directly at him. He will be mine. Ethan stood frozen. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. I think there's been another mistake. Two honor guards stepped forward and gently, but firmly, took him by the arms. Wait. Agree to this, Ethan protested. It is a great honor, one guard said, his voice neutral. It's kidnapping. Ethan snapped. You may speak with the princess later, the other replied. As they led him toward the royal platform, Ethan looked up at Kaelvanni again. She met his gaze, her golden eyes gleaming to her. This was more than a choice. It was a declaration, not of love. Not yet, but of interest, of challenge, of curiosity. She had chosen a creature unlike any other, a man who defied tradition not with weapons, but with words. A man who spoke without fear, who didn't bow, who didn't try to impress. And in a galaxy full of warriors that was rare, very rare, back on Earth. The diplomatic office buzzed in panic. We lost Ethan, said one junior officer. How did we lose Ethan? He was just there to monitor the data feeds, I think. He got picked by the princess. What? What does that even mean? Far above Earth, in a ship shaped like a flying dagger, Ethan Cole sat in stunned silence inside a luxury suite built for royalty. The furniture was made of soft gel. The walls changed color with his emotions. A small robot offered him fruit. He stared at the floor. What just happened to my life? The door opened. Kaelvanni stepped inside, tall and elegant. What? She said nothing at first. Then she sat across from him. I know you are confused. She said softly. Ethan looked at her. That's putting it mildly. I do not choose lightly, she said. I saw something in you. Yeah. What? Raw panic. She smiled again, this time just a little softer. No. Possibility. Ethan Cole sat quietly in the smooth, glowing room. The walls pulsed with soft light and strange alien music floated in the air. The floor felt like soft rubber beneath his boots. It had been 2 days since Princess Kaelvanni had chosen him, and his head still spun with confusion. He sipped a hot drink the ship's AI had provided, something like tea, but with a hint of metal and fruit. It was ... Okay, the door slid open, and Kaelvanni walked in. Today she wore a lighter form of her armor. It looked more like a long coat made of glowing crystal plates. She moved with calm confidence, like someone who had never been uncertain a single day in her life. Ethan stood up awkwardly. Princess Kaelvanni, you may call me Kael, she said, her voice cool. Kael, he repeated. Okay, I think we need to talk. She sat across from him and raised one eyebrow. Talk, Ethan let out a breath. I didn't ask to be chosen. I'm not some warrior or leader. I fix things. Power systems, software bugs. That's all I do. Kael tilted her head. Then why did you challenge me? I didn't mean to, Ethan said. I was just ... being honest. In my world, honesty is rare, especially in public. Well, on Earth, being too honest can get you punched in the face, Ethan muttered. Kael's lips curved into a slight smile. Began to understand why your people are interesting. Ethan gave a small, frustrated laugh. This isn't funny to me. I don't belong here. I don't want to be part of some royal game. Kael leaned forward slightly. This is not a game, Ethan. I chose you. Because you are different. You did not try to impress me, did not bow. You looked me in the eye and spoke your mind. No one in that chamber has done that in years. That's because they're smart, Ethan said. Kael's expression turned more serious. Perhaps they are afraid. You are not. Ethan hesitated, then he looked away. I am. I just don't show it well. There was silence for a moment. Then Kael stood. Come, I want to show you something. The hallway outside was wide and filled with light. Strange floating machines glided by, humming softly. Alien soldiers bowed as Kale passed. Ethan walked a little behind her, still unsure why she wanted him around. They reached a training chamber. It looked like a mix between a dojo, a gym, and a spaceship hangar. There were practice weapons, targeting bots, and gravity control systems. "Want you to learn," Kale said. "Learn what?" "Everything. How we fight, how we live, how we think." Ethan raised a brow. "You're seriously going to train me to be, what, a royal consort?" Kale stepped into the training circle. "I will train you to survive. What happens after that depends on you." Ethan sighed. "Fine, but if I sprain something, I'm blaming you." The first session was painful. Kale didn't go easy on him. Showed him how to hold a Valari staff, how to move his feet, how to stay balanced. Ethan tripped 3 times in 5 minutes. He sweated, cursed, and groaned, but didn't quit. "You have fast instincts," she said after an hour, "but your body is slow." "Gee, thanks," Ethan said, wiping his face with a towel. "Not an insult, just the truth." "Yeah, you. Aliens really don't sugarcoat anything, do you?" "We coat nothing in sugar," Kale replied, confused. Ethan chuckled. "It's a human thing." Later that evening, Ethan was eating dinner in his quarters when the ship suddenly shook. Lights dimmed. A siren blared. "Alert," said the AI. "Security breach. External threat detected." Ethan stood quickly. "What now?" The door opened and Kale rushed in, her eyes burning. "Stay here," she ordered. Ethan shook his head. "What's happening?" "An assassination attempt. One of the rival houses sent a strike team." She turned to leave, but Ethan followed. "Can help?" he said. "You are untrained," she said sharply, "but I'm good with systems. I know sabotage when I see it." "Let me try." Kale stared at him for a long second. Then she nodded once. "Fine. Stay close." They ran through the halls as red lights flashed above them. The ship's AI reported intruders near the command deck. Kale and a squad of guards moved swiftly toward the danger, while Ethan broke off. Toward the main engine room there, he found it a hacked gravity stabilizer. If it failed, the ship would tilt violently, sending everyone tumbling. It would be the perfect moment for an ambush. Ethan opened the control panel. Lines of alien code ran across the screen. He blinked, then smirked. "Good thing I minored in alien languages." His fingers flew across the interface. He rerouted power, overloaded the intruder's signal, and triggered a lockdown. Then he did one more thing. He reversed the ship's internal gravity in the hallway, near the command deck. Just for 3 seconds. Just enough. Up on the bridge, Calvani was facing 3 tall assassins dressed in shadow-black armor. They moved quickly, striking with blades and silent weapons. But just as one leaped toward her, gravity flipped. The assassin floated up, helpless in the air. Kale spun and slammed him into the ceiling. Gravity returned. The assassin crashed to the floor. The other 2 turned in surprise too late. Her guards took them down. Kale looked at the hallway monitors. Ethan stood in the engine room, smiling proudly. "Gravity trick," he said over. "Comes hope that helped." Kale allowed herself a rare laugh. It did. Later, after the danger had passed, Ethan found himself called to the royal strategy room. He stood awkwardly as high-ranking Valari nobles and soldiers stared at him. "Human," one of them said. "How did you know how to hack our systems?" "I didn't hack," Ethan said. "I fixed your gravity controls were vulnerable. I just took advantage of that." "He broke no rules," Kale said firmly. "Saved lives." Some of the nobles looked impressed. Others looked ... worried. "He is unpredictable," one of them said. "That is dangerous." "Yes," Kale replied, "and useful." That night, Ethan sat on the balcony of his quarters. The stars stretched far and wide. He felt small, but no longer useless. Kale joined him, holding 2 cups. She offered one. "Valari drink," she said, "made from the starfruit plant, rare." Ethan took it. "Thanks. I needed this." She sat beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. Finally, Ethan asked, "Why are you really doing this? Choosing me, keeping me here, training me?" Kale stared at the stars. "I was raised to win wars. 2. Rule a galaxy. But I have never met someone who saw the throne and said, "No thanks." That alone made you important. That's a weird reason to drag someone into your life. Kale turned her gaze to him. Perhaps. Or perhaps I see something even. You don't yet. Ethan took a sip. I hope whatever it is, it's worth it. She smiled again, quietly, thoughtfully. It already is. The starship Serpent of Light moved smoothly through the vacuum of deep space. It was the pride of the Valari fleet, faster than anything the humans had built. Armed with weapons that could destroy moons, and shielded by a living AI that responded. To its crew, like a hive mind inside the ship, Ethan Cole, the human who had been accidentally selected as a royal consort, was now no longer just a guest. He was part of the crew. Well, kind of. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a warrior. But now, after weeks of training, after surviving an assassination attempt, and after earning the personal respect of Princess Calvani, Ethan had started to feel useful, but that feeling wasn't going to last, because trouble was coming. Big trouble. The day started normally. Ethan was in the engineering bay, working with a few alien mechanics. He wore a modified jumpsuit now, dark blue with glowing lines across the sleeves. It even had a patch with the Valari royal symbol, star surrounded by 6 claws. He was helping rewire one of the secondary power cores. "This connection isn't grounded," he said, pointing to a part of the control panel. The Valari mechanic, a 4-armed insectoid named Scrix, clicked its mandibles. System was damaged during the last jump. Too much power looped back. We must reroute. You're already on. Ethan said. Fingers flying over the console, Calvani entered the bay just as the lights flickered back to full strength. "You fixed the core," she said. Ethan gave a small, proud grin. "I may not be a sword-swinging alien princess, but I can handle wires. You're more useful than half the people in the War Council," Kale said, walking up beside him. He looked over at her, smirking. Always know how to flatter. A guy, before she could reply, the ship's alarm sounded. A cold voice echoed through every room. Warning. Unknown vessel approaching. Energy signature. Dracari Empire. Threat level. Red. Kale's eyes narrowed. "The Dracari," said softly. Ethan frowned. "Friends of yours?" "They are ancient enemies. Pirates. War kings. Slavers. And worse." "Oh, good," Ethan muttered. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear today." The strategy room was buzzing with activity. Kale stood at the central platform, flanked by her top commanders. Ethan stayed at the edge, watching the screen that showed a large black ship appearing in the distance. It looked like a floating fortress, jagged, dark, and full of glowing red lines. "Their weapons are charging," one officer said. "They are not firing yet." "They want to intimidate us," said another. Kale stared at the screen. "They're not here for battle. They're here for me." Ethan blinked. "Wait, what? Why? Why? You?" She turned toward him. "Because I broke a treaty. When I chose you." Ethan's eyes widened. "Hold on. It wasn't in the brochure." "The Dracari demanded that I form a political bond with one of their princes. They believed that alliance would stop a war. I refused. Because of me? Because of choice?" Kale said firmly. "You are a symbol now, Ethan. Not just of defiance, but of freedom." Ethan swallowed. "I'm flattered. Also terrified." The ship's AI interrupted. "Incoming message from the Dracari vessel." "Put it through," Kale ordered. A massive alien face appeared on the screen. Skin was gray-blue and covered in glowing tattoos. His eyes were black like deep space. "Princess Calvani," the alien boomed, "you have made a grave mistake." "You are not welcome here, Trash Core," Kale said. "You defy our agreement. You insult our bloodlines. Take a human as a bonded." Weak, fragile, pathetic. Ethan raised a hand. "Hi, still standing right here. You will surrender." The human Trash Core said coldly, "Or we will take him by force." Kale didn't even blink. "Try it." The screen cut off. Moments later, the ship shook violently. "They've begun boarding operations," shouted a soldier. "Two assault pods have latched onto the lower hull." Kale turned to her guards. "Seal the engine bay and the bridge. Send intercept teams to decks 6 and 7. Then she looked at Ethan. "You come with me?" "Why me?" "Because they want you. I'm not letting them get you." The halls of the Serpent of Light turned into battlegrounds. Drakari warriors burst through bulkheads, their armor spiked and dark. They carried plasma blades and shock gauntlets. The Volari soldiers met them, head-on with discipline and precision. Kale led a squad through the corridors, Ethan at her side. She moved like a shadow, quick, deadly, unstoppable. Ethan carried a small blaster Kale had given him. It was light, sleek, and alien-looking. "This thing safe?" he asked. "It's safe enough," she replied. "Not the answer I wanted." They turned a corner and came face to face with a trio of Drakari warriors. Kale moved first. Her energy, spear extended with a snap, glowing with blue fire. She struck the first warrior in the chest, spun, and blocked the second's blade. The third raised his weapon, but Ethan fired first. The blaster hit the enemy in the shoulder. The Drakari staggered. Ethan fired again. The warrior fell. Kale looked at him. "You learn quickly." "I learn when I'm scared," he said. Which is now a lot. They reached the core chamber where the Drakari were trying to cut through. "The control gates." Kale raised her hand. "Let me speak to them." The guard stepped back. Kale stepped forward, voice like thunder. "You come to take what is mine?" she called.
Out.
"Then know this, he was never yours to demand." The Drakari leader, a hulking brute named Varnak, laughed. "You shame yourself for a human." Kale raised her spear. "I uplift what others fear." Then the fight began. Varnak charged at Kale. His blade met hers with a crack of energy. Sparks flew. The room shook. Meanwhile, two Drakari rushed toward Ethan. He dodged the first, firing wildly. The second tackled him. They struggled, rolling across the floor. Ethan grabbed a loose cable and jammed it into the Drakari's armor. The enemy screamed and fell. Ethan pushed himself up, coughing. Kale finished Varnak with a brutal strike to the chest, then turned. All the enemies were down. She walked over to Ethan and offered her hand. "You did well," she said. He took her hand, breathing hard. "I didn't die. That's progress." Later, after the ship was secure, the wounded were treated and the dead honored. Kale and Ethan stood in the observation deck. Outside the window, the stars burned quietly. "You were brave today," she said. "I was lucky," Ethan replied. She shook her head. "No, you made your own luck." He looked at her. "You still think I was worth all this?" "I don't think," she said. "I know." Ethan gave a small smile. "You're stubborn. So are you." They stood in silence. Then Kale spoke. Again, softly. "When I pointed at you that day, I knew you were mine, but I did not know what that meant. Now I see." What do you see?" She looked into his eyes. Not a tool, not a symbol. The Serpent of Light floated in orbit above a desert moon. From a distance, it looked peaceful, like a silver flame resting against the stars. But inside, tension buzzed through every hallway like electricity. Ethan Cole sat in the royal meeting. Room, shoulders tense, fingers tapping against the table. He had just finished another round of advanced weapon training. His arms ached, and his head felt like it was filled with buzzing wires. Princess Kaelvanni stood across from him, wearing her full armor. Her crystal blue plates shimmered under the ship's golden lights. She looked calm, as always, but Ethan knew something was wrong. "All right," he said, crossing his arms. "What aren't you telling me?" Kale glanced at the doors to make sure they were closed, then walked over and sat beside him. "There's a meeting of the ruling houses on the capital planet of Vilar Prime," she said. "In 3 days." Ethan blinked. "Okay, is that a problem?" "It is when all 12 houses want me removed from the throne." "What? Why?" "They believe I've broken tradition." I refused the alliance with the Dracari. I chose you instead. A human, a stranger. To them, that's betrayal. Ethan's jaw tightened. So what are they going to do? Vote you out? They plan a trial of legacy. Ethan frowned. That sounds dramatic. It is. It's not just political. It's combat. Ethan stared. Wait. They want to fight you? For being with me? They want to challenge my leadership, and they will use our bond as proof that I am weak. Ethan stood, pacing. This is insane. You've done everything to protect your people. You stopped the Dracari, saved this ship, held the fleet together. Cale gave a tired nod. It doesn't matter. To the old houses, bloodline is more important than courage? He stopped, turned to her. So what do we do? She stood up as well. We faced them together. The capital of Velor Prime was nothing like Earth. The planet was covered in tall crystal forests, floating cities, and deep silver oceans that glowed in the dark. The royal palace, known as the Starspire Citadel, stood atop a massive tower surrounded by clouds. Ethan stared out the shuttle window as they approached. That is the biggest building I've ever seen. Cale glanced at him. Don't let them scare you. Easy for you to say. You have armor? I've got nerves and a borrowed jacket. She smiled faintly. You'll do fine. The moment. They landed. Eyes were on them. Alien nobles lined the walkways. Their clothes were woven from light and sound. Most looked beautiful. Many looked angry. At the center stood the 12, the heads of each noble house. They looked down their long noses at Ethan, whispering among themselves in harsh, clipped tones. Cale stepped forward with Ethan beside her. She didn't flinch. Princess Kael'vani, of House Vareth, said an old woman in gold. You stand. Accused of breaking the ancestral code, do you deny it? I deny nothing, Cale said calmly. I chose a partner not from tradition, but from truth. The crowd murmured. The woman turned her sharp gaze to Ethan. You, human, speak. Why should the bloodline of Vila be mixed with yours? Ethan's heart pounded, but he stepped forward. I didn't come here to start a war, he said. I didn't ask to be chosen. Cale did choose me, not because of power or blood, but because I think differently. I question things. I fix what others leave broken. And when danger came, I didn't run. More murmurs. Some nobles nodded. Cale stepped beside him. He stands not just as my partner, but as a symbol that Villar can change. That strength isn't only in blood, but in spirit. The woman in gold raised her hand. Then let the trial begin. The trial of legacy was not one battle. It was 3. The first was wisdom. The second was skill. The third was honor. Each trial tested a different part of the leader's soul. Cale would face a different noble champion in each, and if she failed, even once she would lose the throne. The first trial. Wisdom. Cale. Her challenger stood inside the crystal vault, a massive room filled with floating puzzles, energy mazes, and logic traps. Ethan watched from the side with a dozen nobles. The challenge was simple. Reach the central crystal. Prove your mind sharper than your opponent. Cale moved with focus, stepping between shifting floors and riddles written in ancient Valari. She used Ethan's earlier teachings, human logic, shortcuts, and pattern breaking. Her opponent, tall noble from House Sar, relied only on tradition. He moved in circles, confused by new paths and unexpected results. Cale reached the crystal first. Trial of Wisdom, won by House Vareth. The second trial, Skilth Arena, was wide and open, with hard light barriers shifting every few seconds. The weapons were real. The danger. Real. Ethan watched with a tight chest as Cale faced a warrior from House Velth, a master of the twin blades. They danced across the floor. Weapons clashing, armor sparking. The noble was fast, but Cale was smarter. She let him tire, himself, and countered, with brutal grace. She didn't just win. She stunned the entire arena. Even the nobles clapped. Trial of skill, won by House Vareth. The third trial, honor. This was the hardest. Kale was not allowed to fight in this trial. Instead, her honor would be defended by her chosen. By Ethan. Ethan stood in the middle of the great hall, facing a warrior from House Dross, a cold, muscular Villari who looked like he ate knives for breakfast. "You can't be serious," Ethan muttered. Kale placed her hand on his shoulder. "You only need to last 3 minutes. Show them courage. Nothing else." Ethan nodded. 3 minutes. Easy. He did not believe that. The fight began. Ethan dodged. Lot. He ducked under a sweeping punch, rolled away from a blade, used his blaster to blind, not to harm. He remembered Kale's training: move your feet, keep breathing, use the environment. The crowd watched in total silence. Ethan tripped once. Nearly got pinned, but used a flash charge from his belt to escape. At 2 minutes and 50 seconds, the warrior finally grabbed him. Ethan braced for pain, but then he did something unexpected. He looked the warrior in the eye and said, "You've already lost. I'm still standing." The warrior blinked. The crowd gasped, and the bell rang. Time was up. Ethan stood, bruised, exhausted, but upright. Kale rushed forward, pride glowing in her face. Trial of honor passed by the human of House Vareth. The council had no choice. They bowed. One by one, even the woman in gold. Kale turned to Ethan, standing before the entire court. She held out her hand. "You are mine," she said again. This time her voice was soft. "If you choose to be." Ethan looked around, at the nobles, at the stars outside, at Kale. He took her hand. "I choose you too." The sky above Velar Prime was filled with ships. Some came from the far moons, others from distant sectors of the galaxy. Most were massive and sharp-looking, like swords cutting through clouds. These were warships from noble houses of the palace. Courtyard was surrounded by banners, soldiers, and diplomats. The whole galaxy had come to witness the coronation of Princess Kale. Vani, but not everyone was happy about it, and not everyone wanted her to wear the crown. Inside the royal hall, Ethan Cole adjusted the collar of his ceremonial jacket. It was made of black, velvet-like material with silver threads that shimmered when he moved. The symbol of House Vareth, a silver claw around a star, was stitched on his chest. He looked at himself in the mirror. "I still look like a space." "Waiter," he muttered. From behind him, Kale entered, wearing her ceremonial armor. It was lighter than her battle suit, more elegant. The silver plates curved like waves, with sapphire gems embedded on her shoulders and wrists. Her crown rested in her hand, not yet worn. "You look prepared," she said with a small smile. "I feel like I'm going to pass out," Ethan replied. Kale walked over and gently adjusted his collar. "You faced a Drakari warlord, nobles with ancient grudges, and a trial of honor. You can handle a crowd." "Crowds judge harder than swords," Ethan said, half joking. "Not this one," she said. "Not anymore." They walked side by side down the long corridor, toward the grand balcony. From there, Kale would be crowned in front of the galaxy. But halfway down, Kale's chief guard ran up to her. "Your Highness, there's trouble." They were taken to the surveillance room. On the screen, a fleet of black ships hovered just outside planetary defense range. Their design was unmistakable. Jagged wings, red engines, and curved hulls like claws. "The Drakari," Kale whispered. Ethan's heart sank. "What do they want now?" The guard looked tense. "They're broadcasting a message. Play it," Kale ordered. A familiar face appeared. Trashcore. The Drakari prince from before, the same one who had tried to capture Ethan. "Princess," he said, voice low and cruel, "you dare to wear a crown while defying our empire, while placing a human on a throne meant for gods." Kale's expression didn't change. Trashcore continued. "We gave you a chance for peace. You spit on it. We gave you time to return to tradition. You burned it. Now we come not as diplomats, but as executioners." The screen went black. Back in the war room, the Villari generals argued. "We must fire first," shouted one. "No, we wait." Maybe they're bluffing. We can't risk our guests. The coronation must be delayed. No, we attack. Show no weakness. Kale raised her hand. Silence fell. We will not run, she said calmly. We will not delay. Today is the day Velar chooses its future. Ethan looked at her, amazed by her calmness. But if they attack, he asked, then we show them what unity looks like. She turned to him and held out her hand. Will you stand beside me? Ethan didn't hesitate. Always. Coronation. Ceremony began. Crowds filled the floating platforms around the palace. Thousands watched from ships, holograms, and distant planets. The music of old Velar echoed in the air, slow, powerful, full of tradition. Kale and Ethan stepped onto the grand balcony together. Gasps rippled through the nobles and aliens watching. Many had never seen a human so close. Fewer had ever seen a royal hold someone's hand during a ceremony. Kale stepped forward. A priestess in white placed the crown upon her head, a ring of glowing silver with small floating crystals circling. Above it, like moons. Calvani, of House Vareth, the priestess said, voice loud and clear. Do you accept the burden of the crown and the hope of your people? I do, Kale answered. The priestess turned to Ethan, and you. Ethan Cole, of Earth. Do you accept the bond that stands beside the throne? Not as a ruler, but as the one the ruler trusts most. Ethan paused for half a second, then he smiled. I do. The crowd erupted in light and sound. Beams of color shot into the sky. Valari flags unfurled from towers. Trumpets roared. But before the celebration could begin fully, the alarm sounded. Warning, enemy ships descending into atmosphere. The Drakari had started their attack. Dozens of black fighters shot through the clouds, heading straight for the capital. Kale turned to her generals. Get every shield up. Protect the civilians. Then she turned to Ethan. We fight. We stick together. The sky turned red with battle. Kale led her elite guard into the air, flying in silver skiffs that darted between buildings. Ethan rode beside her, armed with his blaster and a shield pulse unit strapped to his back. The Drakari dropships landed on the palace platforms. Soldiers poured out armored in black, their weapons burning blue with plasma. Kale jumped from her skiff, landing in the center of the battlefield like a comet. Her energy spear lit up and she cut down the first wave with silent, deadly precision. Ethan followed close behind, covering her sides. He wasn't the best fighter, but he was smart, fast, and brave. He used the palace systems to overload enemy weapons, closed doors to trap invaders, and even dropped a statue on a Drakari walker. You're starting to enjoy this. Kale shouted over the sounds of battle. I'm starting to enjoy not dying. Ethan shouted back. Then the final ship arrived. Massive. Covered in scars. Trashcore stepped onto the platform. Sword in hand, armor glowing red, he walked straight toward Kale. You stole my future, he growled. No, she said. I chose my own. They clashed in a storm of blades and power. Sparks flew. The floor cracked. The air trembled. Ethan watched, helpless, until he saw a group of Drakari aiming for Kale from behind. Without thinking, he ran toward them. He raised his shield. It absorbed one blast, then another. His unit started to break. One more shot, and it overloaded. Ethan fell to one knee. Kale saw it. Her eyes burned. With a roar, she struck Trashcore down, disarming him and sending him crashing into the floor. She ran to Ethan. I'm okay, he gasped. Just a little cooked. She helped him up. You're more than okay. You are Valari now. The Drakari forces, seeing their leader fall, began to retreat. Cheers erupted from every platform. The battle was over. Later, when the city was safe, Kale and Ethan stood once more on the grand balcony. The people of Velar cheered for them, but this time, Kale didn't speak. Ethan did. I came from a world where no one believed I mattered much, he said. But this world, this people, this princess showed me that being human, being different, was not a weakness. It was our greatest strength. Kale smiled and added, "Together we built a future no one thought was possible." And hand in hand under the stars of 1,000 worlds, they ruled not just with power, but with unity. A crown for her, and a place beside it for him.